Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think there is a good time to start something like that what we want to do here in Aalsmeer in Netherlands. And we are at the Boerma Instituut, which is one of the very dynamic and since a long time, and I think with a wonderful future too, because of it goes from generation to generation there, and there is a lot of fresh energy in there. And let me say that because of I know how important it is that we at the moment speak also about the future. So we are in this wonderful educational place, and in the heart of Aalsmeer, you know, which is one of the hotspots of flower production and flower distribution in the world. And what am I doing here? That is maybe just a little question, because I am one of the partners of the school for a couple of years. So it's obvious if you see the shade of my hair, the 52nd shade of gray, that I have already years ago when the founder of the school, when he was around in Holland, in Europe, in the whole world. And that I'm now working with his daughter and his grandson with his partner, and I love it very much because of this is a place where education is number one. And after all these years also I was in trade, in flower business and in flower cultivation. I was first a gardener, and then I was a florist in a shop with my parents, and then with my wife, and then it started more and more to travel and to go abroad. And now, today, I'm here. So what we want to do is we want to talk about education. We want to talk about what can we do together. I think this is very important because of these COVID times. They might end one day. I hope I survive that too, because of now we are here together, but we have to be online. So I like very much the live classes, and believe me, I also look out for something what we do here at Boerma should be also a live class. It should be amongst people, and I still like that the most. But I had to learn to speak to a camera. Camera is my friend now. Hello, friend. And but I don't blush anymore. Like last year around Easter, I had my first camera experience in many years for a longer term presence in front of a camera, and that was very difficult. Now I feel good about it because of we can still be together. And I hope that we really reached you. We made our announcements for this meeting here today. It's a demonstration. So I'm not here to talk. And I'm not I'm sharing with you things which are everywhere. So we really packed the car with prepared pieces, and some are absolutely new developed, so that we don't see that what we daily see on the internet, so that we really are looking out for work which could be interesting for maybe for the master, education of master, and for other interesting work what the most people will do in the future. So what I have today is some table work, some room decorations. What I'm starting with here on the right side is something which is a wooden backdrop, and it is a bit vintagey, rustic, and with falling off paint, you know what vintage often is. But the disc in front of has a bit of an Asian look. It's a wax plate. And so I will do with a few simple touches. I want to finish this. And then I have more work to share with you. And we want to do it really that you have a lot of enjoyment and you also see the one or the other idea, but we cannot start everything from the scratch. But this is what we promise for the educations, what we will do here again together, because for my last class here 2 years ago, when that was, 1.5 years ago, then we really had an intense class and everything starting from the scratch and really sharing with people very well. So we want to, I have to speak English, so we discussed it with my friends and partners here that shall we speak Spanish, Italian. I say, wonderful. It would be wonderful if we could do it, but I think we should go with these very, for many people, easy to adapt language, which is English. And but when we are in class here together, so if we come to further on live classes here, we can always, when we are side by side talking about the work, we can always speak in several languages. But today, just English. Forgive me that, even if I actually should speak German, but that is what I don't use here today. So this work here is just hanging on a branch here on the ceiling. So all these, I think it's, is it a hamamelis or is it, I don't know. It's, it is winterly, it is dry actually, but it was fantastic. You see here, there are these little black buds here, and here is one panel which is a little blackish from the in texture, and so you see there are nice connections. And also I worked with tubes which I covered actually with organic material, so which is a little related to the brown and sand and taupe tones in the backdrop. And so I try to make the props as little important as possible. You know, I should really stop for a moment talking and go into the design. I have some gorgeous flowers here. This is the, in Spanish they say the nardos, which is the Polyanthus tuberosa. The Polyanthus they have here in Aalsmeer is that place Marginpar, and which is a distributor of productions of flowers which would not exist usually as this seasons. And so Marginpar, I found fantastic flowers here today, and I should mention it because of if they would not be here, I would not have it, and not having is something what I know by my traveling. When sometimes when I had classes in other countries, then it was very difficult when I was dreaming of something doing and I didn't get it. So, okay, here I have some Antheriums. This is are the smaller, lovely types. These are the small, very long-lasting Antheriums, and you know, the good thing about it is that they are available in little packages. And so I like big Anthuriums too, but I should say that a small Anthurium, for a lot of the work I'm doing here today, is very suitable. It's absolutely suitable for this because of one of the next works. I have just very little tubes and little space for flowers, and then the flowers should not be like an elephant ear. So what do I have here? Please be proud with me that I have it. This is not a Rhipsalis. This is a Casuarina, the Casuarina equisetifolia. It's kind of African. You know, you see this sometimes in the movies about Tanzania and films like Out of Africa and all that. So you see these trees often in the back of, in front of a sunset. So, you know, I want to touch up this here fairly quickly, and so that I have really enough time to share a lot with you. So the plan was first, let's speak a little about education, and maybe we do 1 or 2 arrangements, but I said I don't come for 2 arrangements to Holland. How can I go? There's still 3 hours to drive, so let me do something. And okay. So the waxwork, this is something which is very interesting So at the moment, as long as we have flowers like the lily family, tulips, and you know, if you look into a tulip, you look like onto a waxwork, a wax candle or something. And yeah, and then the gingers, Antheriums, all these families, they are very much with a waxy surface. And I think, therefore, it was worthwhile to make a wax plate. I made an online class a couple of weeks ago, and then I started a lot with wax. And I think for this season, we can really work like that. I wouldn't do this in the middle of the summer or in the very clear colors of the summer and fall. No, I wouldn't do that. But at the moment, I think it can be still till April wax. But then I wouldn't make it so much of important. So that's about it. I think we can have already thinking about the next arrangement. So all of this is just placeable in a corner. It is for a display or for beside a speaker. You know, a speaker at a speaking table. This could be next door, and then next to him and to her, and then just hanging a few populus alba sticks. So all of this is just to hang. So work what can be prepared at the place, at home, you transport it, you go to the site, and then you hang it as something which can be done in a short time. So if we do yes, there's a question.
Well, for now, there's not there's a question later, but first of all, I want to say that there are a lot of people watching from all over the world. We have people from Mumbai, Romania, UK, Poland, Kenya, Ireland, Estonia, California, and
From
Singapore.
Kenya. Jumbo, kuaheri sana.
We have Sardinia, France, Canada, Croatia, China, San Diego, Pennsylvania, Colorado, and of course Holland, Russia, Hong Kong, and Taiwan.
Ni hao ma. Okay, so I want to thank you that you take the time to be with us. And I wish you could be here because of this is a fantastic world here in between the greenhouses and all the water which you see in channels and in little lakes around here. It's a fantastic ambience. And yes, I know I should not talk about Aalsmeer now. We should do the next work. Can I have the next work? So yes, we want to speak today also about very practical work and about work which is not too time consuming, but I think at the moment we see that people like very much to think about what can we sell in the future. Is this a very cultured flower trade? And on the other hand side there is the floral art and the floral design as a hobby and the floral design as a culture, even if it is commercial. So I want to really think of both directions. I think that we still need knowledge about how can we create an ambience for flowers. Do we know enough flowers and enough about flowers and about botany and all this? Where is the plate? The plate is, I should really know. Yeah. So now, here I have, it's a bamboo tube. It has a little of an old yellowish bamboo post. And this is a table decoration or for a sideboard. And the bamboo is nailed on 18 wires, 1.8 millimeters. Here in Holland they have 1.5 millimeter always. And this is green lacquered. It doesn't oxidize. The one I have here can oxidize, so but I wrap it up with a paper covered wire. And so I have the most fantastic, very thick kind of Crispedias. Do we have the flowers? Yeah, here they are. And then we have very nice tulips. I have a bit of the materials here from Danziger. This is a cultivator for summer kind of materials, spring and interesting greens. And then the tulips here. These are the double tulips. And this is a wax plate. And the wax plate I did in a container, in a aluminium container, and melting wax and bringing the materials, the wax, letting it cooling down, let it cool down, and then when it's cool, then you can knock it out of the container. But there are some little tricks what you have to do that you get it out of the container again. So usually wax sticks on everything. You know, if you had wax on a trouser or on a skirt, then you know that it's not so easy to get rid of it again. But I have my tricks here, and so I share all of this in classes of this school. So here we have the Lupidium from, is it Danziger? It's a Danziger, okay. And I think the Craspedia, the drumsticks, is from the family of the daisies, from the daisy family. And what I'm doing here is really working block type, so that just it's a bit of cubistic. The cubism, you know, the big artists of cubism in a certain period of the modern art. Also in floristry it can be like that. So I have a little weakness for this. I don't show it constantly, but it can be in modern ambiences. It can be a wonderful way. These little holes, they disappear. I need my glasses. So do I yeah, here are more holes, yes. And the flowers, they go through a grid here. And this grid is holding the flowers in position. Here the focal area of the design is about here. And I have a big group and I have a small group and I have this big empty part. So I think in 3, 5 and 8. I think in 3 and 5 and 8, in less and more. You know, the proportion is very much of a parameter for design quality. So I really look out for good proportions. So the work shouldn't be too high so that I really have less, more and maximum. That branch here is floating. It floats from the side. Here is all the anchoring, and technically it's a lot of challenges to really get everything standing well, that it doesn't fall apart, that it's transportable. So these are all professional values. So I'm not saving flowers here. I am here in the heart of the European flower wellspring, so I cannot here play with a handful of 3 little flowers. I think there is a question.
Yes, a question from Joachim Unrel. Where do you get the wax?
The wax, we find out in the communication with our friends from Canada that we should take a bee wax, which is fully organic, or a soya wax. But what I did, frankly to say, when I did my first work here for this at home, it was leftovers from candles. And there is still 20% maximum of mineral oil product, so paraffin. So, but I promise you, when I do this work again, I will look out for the soya wax and for the bee wax. So that is available in special shops, candle stores, and many people, they do their own candles, and there are many techniques, but it goes too far to speak about that now. But go and look out for soya wax or for bee wax. More question?
Yes, question from Taiwan. May I ask if drilling holes in the wax will break it easily?
No.
And how do I prevent?
No, you just have this wax and you put it on a softer base, maybe like carton on the table, and you start very carefully drilling, very carefully, not quick, and you don't take too much of a big drill. You start with a smaller, and then the second time you go in with a bigger. So here, I did it actually at the place. I did a few at home, some holes, but I added more in it because I want to make it more opulent. It's not breaking at all, so there's no problem. But there are very wax kind, they can break. I don't know what kind of wax that is, but if you drill carefully, you have a soft under base where you drill, and then it doesn't happen anything. So I am very happy with what I have. The flowers, they are ending down underneath in two trays, a big one and a small one. It's actually the same, like this grid is a small one. This grid is a big one, and the branch streams in from outside. Okay, here could be another little branch which goes back again. So I think if the majority of the order here, the line order, is parallel, there can be a little flirt with overlapping. Little flirt just. Don't change the balcony. That's what I always say about that. Okay, so let me do another one. I really, I'm getting warm here. Warmed up for more work because I have much more to share. So if in case we get here together again, we could do a class for Mastership. So I think that is a very good opportunity because of Boerma is very experienced in classes for all kinds of education, but I think it is a very big step. People say, okay, you need the master to be respected or what. No, this is not the only reason. I think the very big reason is that a master should be ready for, as a decider for a design direction, for a business idea, to consequently have a team and guide the team into a good result. I think to be a master florist is not only to do once a fantastic design, so you need to study many skills. And so I think it is very important that we learn a lot about techniques, but we also learn all the methodologies, principles and elements, and that we know of this, and that we have a lot of knowledge for cultural things like the style lesson, what kind of styles. Oh, here's coming a new work.
Yes. Shall we wait?
No, come in. You are more important than what I have to say, actually, because I can still say it later. So let's turn it around. Para un momento. So here I have a little of a modern rustic decoration for maybe for a buffet, and if people are not too sensitive, they could even have this as a table decoration so that they could look here through. And I think that is an option. But I would say it's more for on a buffet, on a sideboard, for this kind of work. So let me tell you what I have here. I come back to master education later. I don't let it go because I have so much to say about it. And wonderful, you see the it's Amarina, which is it's a hybrid between Amaryllis and Nerina, and it's fantastic, this flower. And I do a lot for Amaryllis. Not that I am on the payroll for production. No, I am helping a flower which is ideal for our life circumstances. The flower lasts very long. The flower is very strong. The colors are fantastic. The flower has a beautiful face and wonderful legs. So I would call it, amongst all the Naomi Campbells, Claudia Schiffers, and I know more actually, but don't let me mention all the models in the world. But I think we should mention here this rose. Do you have a name for this? That is a fantastic rose. It's the same color precisely like the color of the Nerina. That plate is what I have here. Is a taupe-colored wool, a transparent disc, which I did with wire, and then on this I found a greenish, yellowish lichen, which is growing usually on elderberry, on sambucus. I have a bit of Ornithogalum arabicum, which is in the new name, what they give is Ornithogalum sandersonii, but when I was in education, they called it arabicum, Ornithogalum arabicum. So, but soon I'm done. And what is these wonderful what are these strings here with these little cucumbers, these little pumpkins? This is Diplodociclos palmatum. And when we have people from Taiwan here on the web, then we can say Dutch florists, designers, and guest designers in Taiwan, they found the Diplodociclos. Me too, I was also there at that time. But I don't want to mention myself first because of the Dutch colleagues. They brought it to their gardeners in Holland. And nowadays you can have these wonderful strings in a little box for a bearable price, and especially in times when vines like ivy, honeysuckle, lonicera, and all this, when this is not so available, then you are happy when you have something which is draping down. And yes, I think I'm done. So this is a structure all handmade, and we want to teach in our classes for masters how to build props. So this is a feather stone. It's just a concrete material which has a little stone debris in there. It is drilled in an iron bar wrapped with the clematis bark. That is the bark of the clematis. These are just Strongo wires, and we wove the candlestick also with wires. And this is very stable. This is something which is good to have the right color, but we should glue it again. Okay, so here is we put the flowers here in a tray, and the tray has a biodegradable foam here. And I don't want to start a discussion about foam now. I keep myself out of this. But for the future, I think we should really look out for less oil-based flower arranging aid, you know. So let me go on with, here, it shouldn't be here. This is more for here. So the discussion about the foams and all that is very important. We should really see what we do in the future. So before I get to the next work, then I want to really tell you how I do my plannings. Is there a chance now, Angelica, that we show a few sketches?
Yes, of course.
So now we need to turn that around so that you see at least this from the better. I said it's the better side. Wat zeg je? Ja. So perfect. It's a perfectly symmetrical work. What we really really want to do in the future for the class of masters, that we go very much into the design rules, that we go into symmetry, asymmetry, the line orders, for example, radial, parallel, overlapping, diagonal, winding, free line order, all this, that we speak about relationships between height and depth and width, and the directions in which a design is dominant. For like this one is symmetrical and it is more wide like high in general. So about all of this, then talking about where is, if there is a point of emergement, where is it? Here there are 20, 30 points of emergement because of these lines never join together, and all that needs to be discussed, so that a master of floristry knows about the rules, the design rules, even if the personal style is a little different. So I think we should really look out for that. And you see the sketches?
Yeah, the sketches are there now.
The sketches are there now. You see how I do my planning. So when I do something what I haven't done before, then I just take a little piece of paper and make a little communicative document for myself. And then when I want that I have help, that people help me, then I can share it. And I think when I am communicating with others, with myself, and also with the client. So a master florist should be able to communicate with the client. I think that is very important. So, and when the master florist is able to communicate, then it is easy to create individuality, because of, for the client it looks like you designed it only for her, for him. Which can be the case, which I think it's wonderful, because of people want to be spoiled. Spoiled by the professionality of a professional individual. And sketching is one of it. We should study together sketching, at least sometimes in our days when we're here together, a couple of hours, even after dark, still an hour of sketching. I think sketching is communication. And communication nowadays is more than important. Thank you very much. How is it? We do another one? Yes. Do we have another one? No question. What?
Only about
Oh, well, there are a lot of compliments about your work.
Compliments?
Yes.
They are far too nice to me now. Thank you very much. Yes, we enjoy, even if it rains outside, but we have compliments from our guests. So, my friends, Axel and Mike, they bring in now another work. So this one is a bit heavy, because of also in gastronomic situations it should stand stable. Therefore we have this fada stones, which is this concrete melted stone thing, and it has its weight, but it's also possible on a brick of wood. There's a question.
Well, this question is like coming back to the sketches we just showed. Alina says how to implement ideas correctly if there are a lot of ideas in my head, but when I start doing it, it doesn't work.
I think we still need to study, parallel to this, the rules of proportions. For example, the rules of 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. You know, this kind of the Fibonacci concept, or the Leonardo da Vinci concept, so that we know how the rules of proportion are. And that we know actually if we have too many expressive ideas side by side, then we lose actually the clear expression of a work. So you cannot follow too many expressions. So if you say you have 5 ideas in your mind and you want to bring and implement them all in the work, it can be too much. So, you know, what I did was with the first horizontal bamboo, lifting a wax plate, drilling holes, and placing flowers in there. But the target was actually, how do I find an interesting, charismatic idea with a character, bamboo and wax, to place my flowers? So that is the in parallel. So, but the only really important idea is drilling holes and placing flowers in there, reaching the water. And here it was building a platform in a structure with many flowers which are standing down in water, but building that colorful platform. And the candles and all that is just little touches. I always do this like a chemist or a pharmacist who takes a few drops to change the substance. You know, a little bit. In Russia they say chut-chut, chut-chut, you know. So, okay, let's go for another. All right, here is here is Mr. Chickenfoot, huh? No, it is actually, I like works which are super light, which are floating. I like floating things. It maybe has to do with that I am not so light myself. And so this is actually a rebar of 6 millimeters, and it's the rebar is bent, and here I added a few feet, like little bird feet, to lift it up, that it would not all depend from here. Then I must have a lot of weight here. But I think for the eye, these 2 very light feet are not too visible. They are fairly dainty, fairly little to see. Now, then I had the overlapping technique. This is also something what we would study in classes together. So that is the overlapping technique. And of wires, this wire is a 1.2 millimeter wire, which is now, I would say, available in the most countries in the world. They have wires. And then I have very little miniature tubes, and they are attached here under this coxcomb type of form. And then one of my darlings here, which is the Gloriosa, they call today Superba, but it's the old name. When I was a student, it was Gloriosa Rothschildiana. You know, like the Rothschilds, the Baron family in France, the Rothschildiana. And so I think, and then look what I have here. I have just a few stems of them, but they are a little gift from Maginpar. New varieties of Clematis diversifolius. I was spoiled like hell years ago already with Clematis in Japan, because of they had a lot of Clematis for floristry, which was really a stunning material, and they were wrapping them in newspaper, wet, and then afterwards in wet sprayed plastic from inside. So I learned a lot from this, all this treating flowers for preparation that they last and all that. So, but let me say that then I was really longing when I came back to Europe, let me have a few clematis. And then in the garden I planted some clematis vines, and then for a short time I had them. But the ones here from Marginpar, which are now actually all year available, the good thing about them is that you have many varieties, and even you will see today a variety which is very seldom, and there are a few people who are regularly working with Marginpar, which are not so far away from them, and they do fantastic designs with the more flowers, not just clematis, also other summer flowers. And this is the wonderful thing, that we have many things to combine, and also that we are not getting overloaded by tulips. There is a question. Angelica, I see you.
So a question from Lisa. How are the feet attached?
Wrapping. I'm a big wrapper, actually. If you see Skilo and all these big wrappers, but my wrapping is a different one, you know. So my wrapping is done with paper covered wire, or with the black iron wire. And here is our wire pieces this long, about 10, 5 going this way in this leg, and 5 are going in this leg here, and they are wrapped on the end of that iron bar. Is this answering my question? Next one.
Yes, a question from Pamela. What is the material at the top of this design?
Cornus alba sibirica. This is it's already dry. I had it for Christmas, for my Christmas works, what I posted on Instagram. I'm actually posting every second day a work on Instagram. But they were sitting still in the garden, and I said, come on, oops, we go to Holland, and then you have one more time, a good time, in that coxcomb arrangement at Boerma's. And this is cornus. You don't have such a wonderful red wood in the world like the cornus. Cornus yellow, cornus orange. The yellow one, green yellow one is stolonifera. An orange one is sanguinea, and then the orange one I don't know. But you have so many colored wood sticks, and when they are in the first year of their growth, then you have wonderful colors, different colors. So that's wonderful for something which is still a bit winterly. And yeah, and we are still here, March, we are still a little winterly. On Sunday morning they promised us here in my hometown 5-. So really frost, you know. More questions? Shitsumon? No. No Shitsumon. Okay.
I actually do have a question. Shetu is asking, how do you determine the materials other than flowers? Do you...
That's a good one. How can I praise you? Your intelligent question. You know what? When something is in a modern home, in a modern office, in a modern building, which is going the direction of, you know, like the good old Mr. Conran from England, that interior, what he called modern rustic. You know, modern rustic is modern, but with more rustic materials. There is an open stone wall. There is maybe a high-tech, old, weathered factory hall. There is a high-tech zinc, concrete, halogen light-related... no, that is high-tech. That is a little different, high-tech. But something where rusty iron, where these steel tables, maybe furniture, which is also maybe then with the fabrics in the furniture, which is related to this flowers here. It is a perfect harmony if you have a modern rustic interior, and you have works like that on them. But if you say, okay, now you make it a little funky, then you spray the whole structures bright red, and you take little red Antheriums and even thorny wire, and then you have a little punk music related floristry. Sorry, there is no punk music related floristry if you ask somebody, but I tell you, you can design like that. And this is what you have to learn when you do your education, that the material choice has something to do with the not social message, the style message of that what you want to relate to be related to. What is the rose here? Sorry, I had to, there are so many new varieties. That here is a rose which is very well when the Gloriosa is perfectly 3 to 4 days old. Then it turns a little into a burgundy, leaves the bright red, is cayenne. So that is a very good thing. And what you need also is the Rhipsalis here, and the Rhipsalis and the beargrass. Why you need this? Green is the vitalizer of floristry. Green makes floristry alive. If you have just the colors, the bright colors, and you have no touch of green in there, it's possible that we have just dyed dry flowers or artificial flowers. Nothing against that, but what we want to do here is really the lively flowers. We are in the heart of the flower movement in Europe, in Aalsmeer. So today we talk about fresh flowers. Can I have the second piece? So I want to show you a group. You know, what you want to learn as a master florist is actually that you know to create scenes, that you know to create a scene on a bigger table, on a long table, to make a sari. How much do I need to calculate the number of materials I need? How many flowers do I need? How many corners? How many irons? So if you just order, if you have an endless budget, please go for it. But if you have to make your living by it, it should be calculation, business, and all of that. I think, look at this beautiful clematis. You have a name?
Of this clematis, yes. This is,
so you see here the two horses are jumping together here from one side to the other. So that is not so much work if the structures are done. The work is not so much, but the prep for the structures, this is a lot of work. So it took me about 2 hours, 2.5 hours to do this too. But to put the flowers in now, in total it's about 20 minutes. That is not the problem. But people like to really see something, oh, how is that done? And I think this is a major question we have to fulfill. And therefore, we need very well done education. And yeah, so I have here, there's not a book what I want to sell you. I sell nothing today, absolutely nothing. But I have to say, we offer a big book with sketches, photographs, text. So what we give every week for 1 week to the master students, so that they have material, you know, so that they have material. And so with just works and then text again, text in English. So we cannot do this in more languages. That is, at the moment, I don't see the chance. So there should be English. But look here, and then sketches for works, different types. So that some of the sketches, they even include more information for you, like a photograph. A photograph fills even a lot of little details in, which are taken away from the most essential information. So just the silhouettes of, yeah, you see, Boerma Instituut. But this is not a this is not a book of downloads, you know, from other books, from maybe my books. No, this is individually made text for master education and for you, and not what you also find 1,000 times in the web or what. So it should not be. It is individually. It's your thing. Can we go ahead? What do you think? You have to say something.
Yeah, this is Clematis Sevilla, the new one.
Ah, look at this beautiful, very Asian looking Clematis Sevilla.
Yes.
And but that is not the only one you see today. There is a question.
Yes.
Angelica, let me go.
Question from Carmen. Where do you go for inspiration, or who inspires you?
335 pages. I did a book, Wellsprings of Inspiration. But I don't want to let you down with an offer of a book, buying a book. No, it is actually, I follow very much 5 wellsprings. The one is craft and technique, methodology of design, you know, like what is visually to what I have to develop for the eye, what I have to develop for the hand, technique and craftsmanship. That these are 2. The third is what do I have, material and flower. This is the hardware of creation, inspiration. And then the 2 other ones are actually the softwares. This is cultural suitability and emotion and situation. I think that's very important. I need the tray underneath. Oh, we have that tray. Yeah, you have that tray. I was afraid we forgot the tray in Bad Neuenahr. No, we don't. Is this answering your question? Because of to discuss inspiration, you can do this about a whole week, or you can say actually what is the which creative way do you take? And this is actually what I do. So here my inspiration was culture. That is, you came up with in the right moment with this question, because of this here is Latin Romance. I call this Latin Romance because of in old churches in the Latin world, then you find chandeliers and lamps with these wire flowers. And so I saw this once in southern France in a store. There was a big lamp all done with these wire ornaments here. And I said, okay, you are mine. I do this. As soon as I come home, I will experiment with the wires. And it took me a while. And so I have never done this form. But the idea with wire flowers is actually a very old one from the Latin cultures. So let me do kind of a table or sideboard work. And herefore I have fantastic materials. You see what I have? I have the Fritillaria meleagris, which is the check panel flower. And this is a very old flower, you know. So this is something which in very well protected areas, still in Franconia in Germany, you still find them, but they are very, very well protected. This is the check panel flower. Because of the patterns in them, they are really like a check panel pattern. And then, but I welded the wire, I have to say that. I welded the wire, painted the wire, not welded, painted the wire because of, I made it a little darkish green so that the black wire doesn't become too much of a manierism, a mania. And in that disc, I filled in some moss and covering this with an invisible wire. And now I build, and then that whole thing is standing on this also splitted wire feet. So this is all handmade by myself. So to build props, I said that about 15 minutes ago, to build your own props is part of your skill when you are a master designer. Here I have something very special that's also a Margenpaar, which is the Talinum. The Talinum is a very magic, much more dainty than Gypsophila. Has this little shiny burgundy little balls at the end, very tiny, and then a few of the little group of the clematis and ranunculus. So you see I have some roses here on the side, but I think this would be the wrong place for the roses. At the moment I have the feeling I should stay very much in this spring related flowers. Don't fill much green in here, because of when I fill green here, then I push the appearance of the greenish wire flowers away. So then I don't see the wire flowers anymore. Ranunculus. Sorry. So here could also be a wonderful grass, which is all year available. Also by Margenpaar is the Schosmantium. And later in the summer you have the Brezas and you have many others. But I like that playing here. It has a bit of a vegetative touch, but it is not really a vegetative design, because for a vegetative design it needs actually less decoratively made, handmade craft. Then it should be just growing like in a meadow. Now I think soon I turn it around. You see we are quick, but believe me, we are well prepared. I had wonderful help. So this year, in this Corona times, I can work with my wife, and we are preparing at the moment everything together. So this is for me a new experience. I love to travel and I love to be with all yours, but I should also say this is a wonderful time for both of us. You see here, I have to rush ahead before I start too much dreaming about our good times. You see how important the Talinum is, the Talinum and also the jasmine. The jasmine, even if the flowers are not really open, but they help to stretch that floral part. So let me go. I have time enough, I think. I don't need to rush too much. So all the props here, this is actually wire. Wire, wire, wire. So I have nobody who welds that for me. I have nobody who buys that for me. So I am always proud and happy when I build my own props. I think that Angelica has collected some more questions. Have you? No? Oh, hi.
I love your demonstration.
Already?
But they don't hear me, so you can say have a
Okay, okay. Yes, thank you. So I have to group a little bit some flowers, like the ranunculus. They should not be everywhere, and also the beautiful fritillarias, and also some of these clematis I'm grouping. And I want to rush. I want to do it quickly, but I promise you, when we are together and have more time to go deeper into the subjects. And also when we can go home and do our homework, you know, when the master school students, when they do their homework and doing their studies in detail, I think then it is even more fun. But at the moment, we cannot really say when it is. Our plan is for later in the year, but you better discuss this with Jacqueline and with Mike. So at the moment, it's also not a plan to do this master education as a online class, but at least we want to offer this for the future, because of that is a long-term dream of that we would do here in the heart of the flowers in Holland together. Postponed already twice, but who knows how it goes on with our COVID, our new friend. Okay, so I think I'm done. I still could, you have a little more of that jasmine, don't you think so? Yes, yeah. So you see also romantic work, what I'm doing. So it is not, you know that I like to work also with a handful of flowers with very little amounts. So, and grouping a few little things and then let the lines go. Form linear. Have you seen all my postings about form linear in the last time? Yes, I like to do form linear. But we should also study the vegetation, which means the vegetative style, and we should study the form linear, because of these are the two very important teachers of floristry beside the decorative. The decorative is actually what we humans creates, that we say, I want it this way, I want it this way. But if you say, I want to go under the wings of lines and forms, then I really have to study this in terms of angles, symmetry, asymmetry, heights, length, depth, width, and all that, you know. So I wait for just a few. No, we are fine. Thank you. We can already have an eye on the next work. So 1 hour is over. You see, time is running, huh? I don't want to make it boring so that we get enough to see. We should, some of us should get to know each other a little better. So Latin Romance, Romántica Latina. Este trabajo es muy romántico con los ornamentos florales hechos de mano en fil de ferro. So yes, so that is very important that we accept many cultural influences in our floristry. Not to forget Asia, Japan, China, Indonesia, all these cultures. So I want to have it all in mind when I am talking about cultural targets in flower design, in floristry, and emotional. So, okay, that's about it. Shall I think I go once around the table and put a little of that darker color in here, that I create kind of a focal area here. Everything is in water, and I care absolutely for the fact that it is less or more biodegradable arranging aid. I think that's what we should not forget for the future. Thank you very much, and we are going to the next. Yeah.
A question from Angela. Wire works affect my hands. What tips would you give to use to people with health issues concerning their hands?
Health, okay. I was just afraid you are caring for your fingernails, but no health issue. Oh, yeah. I think if it is about the wiring, if you say, for example, you want to wire something like this, you hold one hand stiff and the other hand is very flexible, and you use it like this. One hand should be very stiff, and then in this tension between stiff and moving, then you can bend the wires very easy. So if this wire is not as thin like this, it is a thicker wire, it still helps. But when it becomes 1.8, you shouldn't try this. This is 0.6. 1.8 millimeter wire is, if you have a health issue with your finger, a little hard. So wait a minute. Oh, I wish I could fiddle a little longer on this here. But I think I have more to do. How is that?
I think so, yeah, I'll move this.
Yes.
Let's shift away.
And if you, okay, if you have difficulties to wrap the wires, then you should say, okay, I take a grayish or a blackish raffia, and I wrap everything on raffia. And you know what Hitomi Gilliam from Canada is doing? She has this extenders. These are Medolino Medolino vines, and she is wrapping that with wool, yarn, and so you can also take a wire-colored wool or yarn, and then you wrap with that. But if you need the wire for stability, then you should not work that style, because of you. I can't help you if if you don't have the the strength in your hand for this, then it's difficult. So look out for these extenders. I think this is a very good medium Medolino covered with yarns, wools, and then maybe in a wire color. So then you have the same effect, but it is not so hard to do. But it also doesn't, I repeat myself, carry so well. So what do have you seen these ones? The new scopes. What is the name? We'll find out in a minute. Is that the name? Okay, we'll find out in a minute. So it's a beautiful, they call it scope. The Marginpar scabiosas, what? Vocal scoop. That is really something. Oh yeah, look at this. And then, oh, thank you. Then you have the Jasminium officinalis, but they are not open blooming now. And then I have the Fritillaria meleagris. Fritillarias you will see a little more today. I have other varieties. And you have some ranunculus. But what do I have here? These are meant as candlesticks from a wholesaler. I bought them a couple of years ago in Cologne in a wholesale place. And I still have them. But you have also these cones, stainless steel cones, zinc cones. Even some people, they sell plastic or iron and lacquered. And so you can drill holes in that piece, and then you put them in a glue, which is not too sensitive for influence of water, and then you place them in there. And then I hammered wires in here. This is the 1.8 millimeter wire, two of them together, wrapped with the paper-covered wire. And you have this lifting sticks here. And then I have here, this is a thyme from the Mediterranean countries. In every country is something like that. In the summer, you just take hay. Hey, tell me what I say. And then you attach them with a wire on each other, also on these lifting wires, and you build a strong grid for this floating spring collection here. Okay, if I would have now some leaves of the, I should bring them from home, but it was so strongly freezing 2 weeks ago, so that they were all gone. The leaves of the epimedium. Epimedium is a perennial, wonderful. Or alchemilla leaves, or the leaves of mature helleborus. So that would be better. But I have these little antherium leaves here, and they are actually good for to bring in some green, but not too much. Everything is a bit floating in the air. Also, this magic and good, well-lasting scabiosas. Here in the center, the whole work is a little more concentrated. So this is the focal area. It's not the focal point, not the focal line, it's the focal area. So we have 4 different focals in the design world. But all of this we should discuss in our classes. Angelica, how does it look? More questions?
Well, a lot of questions.
Yes,
but,
please come up. I love questions. You know that some of your questions, they opened actually the quality of our communication, because of they were just in time that I could speak about something which is very important and interesting for our design decisions, you know. So please come up. I love it. I love it. Love it.
Well, I have one question about the previous arrangement. I can't find the name. Maybe I can. Yes, Mandy. She has a question about what was in the moss disc.
The moss disc is just a wire grid, which is the chicken wire technique. And then we pushed the moss from this side and the moss from this side and twirled it together with wire forks, wire crushes, and we twisted them together. So then if after 5, 6 of them, they don't fall off anymore. And then maybe you have a very thin blackish or greenish wire, and then you wrap it in. So that is lasting forever. So, but now it's fresh, which is much more attractive. Is that answering your question?
Yes, it does.
Good. More question?
Not at the moment.
Yeah, we called it Livestream, and so we should be able to answer questions. I think when you really, in the middle of the day, take your time to listen to us, it should be at least a few answered questions beside looking to the work. Building props out of existing hard goods of our trade partners. If we go to a wholesale place for decoration materials, that we are able to combine these materials, what they offer to us, and make them looking always different. I think that is something which should be a wonderful field for the master designer, the educated master designer. If it was a stand for to lift an Easter net in this time, it can be a stand for to lift a wire Christmas tree with lichen branches in December. So I think this is really that we, you know that colleague, a very clever colleague from Switzerland, Mrs. von Boletsky, she said, even an accident, when something is tipping over, or when you had an accident that something was falling down, pick it up and think, what can you do with the rest? Even an accident can be a creative chance. So I really like to mention to my students this kind of word, even it is not my word, but I want to say how important this kind of building out of nothing is, the building out of something which was in an accident, or combining things who had another meaning and still are useful for our creative process. See how beautiful these jasmines are? We take a lot of leaves off. Taking leaves off is for this kind of floristry often very important because of that many leaves, they really cost the life of some materials, stems and leaves, and that is what the old English florists found out when they invented the tape and wire technique and taking the blossoms of the stems and put them on a wire and tape them. So it created at that time a fantastic style which was practiced for dozens of years. I don't say for hundreds, but for a long time. The tape and wire technique was originally English. So therefore is it wonderful that we are melting here in front of our work table, Boerma, together. So you have listened to, you did listen to Angelica, who said where all the people here today are coming from. So greetings to Singapore, huh? Yes.
So I have 2 questions, but they're kind of the same. The question from Peggy and from Taiwan. The question is, what are those cones, and
It's
how
a
are
metal.
they?
It's a nickel. Nickel is it's a metal which is a combination of I don't know precisely of what. So I'm not a chemical scientist, but we call it nickel. And this is not oxidizing. It lasts for years. I have them for a couple of years. And the nice thing that their feet are a little bent, and so that they are having this floral movement of these sticks where they are standing on. It's a very symmetrical work, but internal order has some asymmetrical flirts. So I need to say that. I like to flirt in between design categories. Angelica, what's more?
Yes, a second part of that question was also how are the silver metal vases
Drilled
connected?
a hole, and then taken a silicone and gluing it in the wood. So drilling a hole 0.6, 0.7, this size, and then it's wonderful standing there. It's transportable. You can use it again. But if you don't want to use this hard good, then you can take also pods. There are some pods in the nature. You enseal them with lacquer, and you can also work with them. But then after a time, they start rotting, and you have to throw them away, or you make compost from them. But I think these iron things are good for, for your, hopefully they come back, our hotel partners, that they really have fun to come back and to enjoy not only their guests but also our service. So you see here, this is a design which can be, which can be absolutely double-sided. It can be from this side and from the other. And Helleborus, Scabiosa, Fritillaria, Antherium leaves, jasmine, and ranunculus. And these sickles, they are made out of thyme, false thyme. We buy the bundles from southern Europe. We get them from Italy, southern France, and it's inexpensive material. Ma'am, can I answer something?
Yes, question from Sarah. How can you transfer this beautiful design safely by car?
That is not a problem. That is not a problem. You know, I'm rough. No, that is really not a problem. The problem is when something is going upright and then hanging down, and then if it's well done and the flowers don't fall out, then you have little tubes with a lead and water in there, and then you lay it on the back, these higher works, so that you get them in even a smaller car. So there are always ways, but it's better to think about it before and not when you have it done and then you think, oh, how do I get it away? So I think the planning is master's quality. Cheers, it's water. Angelica.
Yes, question from Hendra. Do you have a storeroom full of old props and do you recycle them regularly?
I tell you, the most of these guys, I take them apart next week. I take them apart and I put several things in boxes. So, you know, there is that tubes on an arm. You know, here, this one. There were tubes on an arm. You cut them off, put them in a box, and then you have many of them. A few with oxidizing wire, a few with a paper-covered wire, a few with organic material, a few with wax. And then you have the boxes for this. See how beautifully organized this school here is. All these order here with thousands of articles. So that is what you, unfortunately, you have to do. I don't storage too many works for too long. Because of then, after a time, in my case, I have many florists who would come back to me by online or even live. Then they would say, oh, I have seen this before. So not too many of these things should be storaged and for too long and used too much again. It's better you take them apart and you build them new. So many of the things I show you today, they were just made last week. And I can use them maybe one more time somewhere else, but don't use too many times one structure. It is another thing. If you are a florist, you are in the middle of Paris, and there are many, many different customers, and you do this design once in the spring for this client, once in the summer for this client, and once in the next winter, maybe with apples and Christmas ornaments and conifers for the Christmas period. So this is my advice. It might be that you are in such a big town that nobody knows what you ever have done, but don't hope that. It is better when they know what you have done because of you do it so beautiful. Oh, we're quick today, huh? Yeah, it's going well. Okay, so now we should do another one. How is that? Sir?
Yes, thank you.
Very stable.
Much.
So the lady, was it Hendra? If she was afraid of stability in cars or what, no problem. So that is one of the most easy to transport works. And even the flowers, when you have a bit of a hillside street with stones and pebbles, it would not easy jumping out the flowers and the tubes and something like that. Now I have a buffet decoration or what's something on a sideboard. See what we have. It is an iron frame, something what you buy in the places. Yeah, first we show it from this side. This is something what you show, what you bought from somebody. That is that wire, welded frame. I also weld myself, but this one is what I purchased. And then all these little wire hooks wrapped with this wire and the 1.8 iron wire. So all the flowers which are resting here on that rack, they are all placed down here in these tubes. And I think that also these vendors up here, they have little tubes here, just two little ones. They also have water, so they can sit there for a longer time. And I think that's very important. And you see the wonderful wax plate here. I come back to you. This wax plate is a peach-colored mixed wax, which is attached after hardening, cooling out on this wire grid, which is done in a vertical, horizontal order of wires. And the birch sticks, which are also looking a bit in the color like iron and wire, they are woven in also a cross pattern. So you see, this would be something for a buffet, for a sideboard, for if it is on a table, it could be a kind of a room decoration. My flowers will be Fritillaria persica and will be, what else? The Nerina amarina, and then a bit of Lepismium bolivianum, which is now here from Aalsmeer. There is a grower who has fantastic Ripsalis. What is his name? You have the name? Arendshoeven, yeah. That is a good one. And they have fantastic Ripsalis and vines. And so if you buy a pot and you can cut it over the whole winter, and you are sure in a season where you normally don't have a lot of stuff from outside, except from the southern hemisphere of the world, then you have the summer there. But we are poor like the next local church mouse because of we don't have vines for the winter. So we are happy to have all these guys like the Ripsalis, the cactus family. There are 50 varieties available, and it's fantastic what you can do with them. Question?
Yes, question from Angela. When you create a design, are you always thinking of 358 and the principles and elements of design, or do you occasionally just do what you feel?
No. I think it is a constant yin and yang, a dancing from one side to the other. So when I have, for example, I would see this stand here, then my first impact, remember the 5 well springs, what do I have? It would be that frame. The second thought would be I built a grid on that frame. So it would be a grid of wire and the birch. This would be craftsmanship, wrapping a grid on. Then I would think of, oh, I want a focal point and a focal line. Focal point is the wax, and the focal line is actually the flowers on that rack. Design. Then culturally, what would it be good for? It would be for a modern rustic interior. Maybe these walls here is also a bit modern rustic. And I would create something for that. This would be a cultural question. If it would be very symmetrical and static, it would be a little more official and not so much of romantic. You see, the brain is going from one wellspring of inspiration to the other. If you hear that now from me, you think, oh man, that man is talking from left to right and from up to down and from down to up and everything and slant and curvy and everything. No. You can organize your creative thinking. But if you have done this, for example with us here, for a couple of days, you start to understand how to develop your own creative idea. Does it make sense? Is it answering your question? Kind of, huh? Yeah, but I always start with the first step. And the first step here, in this case, was the frame. What can I do with this frame? But another time, you have a customer who says, I need for my modern rustic room for the birthday of my 50-year-old husband. What can you do for me? Then it would be a cultural impact to have a room decoration on a table, on the sideboard, and then maybe some candles around here. What can we do with these colors? That would be another beginning. So everybody starts a creation in a different category. So me here, it was when I was in my storage room and I saw that structure there. Okay, I said, I will wrap the wires and then weave the, oh, I have that wax. I make a wax plate. And the wax plate is my focal point. And then, you know, that actually, I don't need to repeat it, going from one category to the next till the end. And when the last flower is in, then you know that you were going through 5 different categories of inspiration. I think we talk too much today here, huh? Don't we? But I should really touch flowers. Let me turn it around. So also this is very stable. You can bring it from Holland to here and from here home again, from home to Holland and back again. So I think these flowers, they last 2 weeks if you have a daily or all second day second day's refill. And these tubes are not too large. This is kind of a long-lasting plastic, but I think glass is also good. It's more, yeah, it's when you see it, it's incredible elegant. But what I have here is actually this silicone tubes. They are covered with black wrapping wire, and the black wrapping wire, it can oxidize and it still looks good. And if you don't want it oxidizing, then you can cover it with, you spray it with a clear lacquer, or you paint it with a clear lacquer, or even wax. So in the last time I was experimenting very much with the wax. You see here a wonderful flower, which is also really making its career since a couple of years. That is the Fritillaria persica, the Iranian Fritillaria. And it could have, let me be serious about it, a little bigger tubes. So the tubes I brought from home, they were a little small. So please remember that when you use them again, that you have a little bigger tubes, maybe 2 centimeters wide and 15 centimeters long. So that rag here is made out of a bronze net. That is a bronze net wire, and there is also there are the birch sticks, little birch sticks, little debris pushed in there. So the Nerina, and then we are also done here. I turn it around when I'm done, and then you see, oh, it could be some French tulips in a peach tone. They would be also perfect here because of the wax is a bit peachy, salmonish. So there are many ways you can go. I think color is a very emotional medium, yeah, a platform where emotions in floristry, flower design, can be wonderfully transmitted. So I think color lesson should be very much our big theme for the School of Masters. But about the school and when and what and such, you speak with the principal of the schools, the principals of the school, and not with me. I just can tell you what we could do together. And I think that's about it. Okay, if I had a little more time, then maybe I would have some washi paper, a little washi paper, and would also dip that in this color of wax, and would attach some of these little washi fibers which are dipped in wax, and would then have them in between that flowers on the rag here. This one is a work practical for floristry daily, what you have for the next Saturday if gastronomy is open again, and something what you can do when it's prepared technically, you can do in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. That's also something what a master should do, create things which are very quickly to do. Nerina is, Amarina is the name of this flower. Amarina and Fritillaria persica. Vanda Ansu, yes, she is having a question. I'm so happy when you have a question.
Question from Marianne. Should there always be a vocal point and vocal line in every design?
If you want to make a, let me call it, landing place for your eyes, for the eyes of the beholder, the person who looks to what you have done, then you have a focal point. If you see architecture, For example, you have a huge building, 50 stories high. It's really like just a rectangular block covered with mirror and glass. And then the entrance hall is something which looks very spectacular because of an individual form. Then it could be like a focal, or you have a dress which is really very a tweed dress in French they would say robe et tweed, and then you have a big brush here or some focal point. Or what is the focal point of a person? It's the face, because of it includes the most graphic patterns on a body, even if some people look other places like faces, but this is not so much my subject here, please understand that. And focal is something where the eye starts to discover a creation, whatever it is. So it is not obligatory. If you see some tapestry, you make a wonderful wall or hanging carpet on a stand, or a painting, does it really need a focal? But the focal as the most important concentration of forms, lines, patterns, structure is actually something which creates the difference to other parts of the design. So if you have a wall carpet and it is one pattern like another one, and there is no focal, it can be a piece of art in the quality of building that pattern or doing that technique. But I think to create a tension between different areas of a creation is a focal point, a focal area, a focal line, or even a focal circle. This is very important, but we cannot only discuss this in about 5 minutes here. But I answered your question. I hope I did it right. Angelica.
Yes, a question about the wax plate. How did you attach it?
I made also with a small drill, a drill bit 4 millimeters, took some wires and was hanging it from above. That it did not crack is actually that I also had 2 little holes down here, so that all the weight is not going into that hanging part, so the wire could cut the wax when it's getting warm. So then I have also 2 binding point and wires down at the under end to lift it up, so that I'm not only depending on the 2 upper binding points. Question?
Question from Barbara. How did you attach the water tubes?
The water tubes, that is a tricky thing. Here they are big like this, and they have an arm with a T at the end. Up here there is a T, and then under that turn here there is that tube, so that that T is attached here on that bar and going down, coming up again and holding these tubes here. And this is a fairly good technique, because if you can use it again and again. And if you want to clean it, please put some chlorine in the water, fill it with chlorine water, and if you pour it next morning off, and then you can use it again. Chlorine. Attaching tubes is a science in itself. There are so many methods. I think I could do a class only about 1.5 to 2 days. All the different methods how tubes can be attached on something. Maybe to make a flute. A flute can be a radial flute, a parallel flute, an overlapping flute, tube on an arm with a T. It's unbelievable. Even if you have no stick for your tube, so you bind a flower in the air here on the structure. Here would be the end of the stem, and you would make with a special technique that the tube would be held at the narina or the heliconia, and it would include water, and you have it lasting without a refill for 2-3 days. You know, there are so many techniques. Thank you that you ask. So I had the chance to say, don't underestimate how much you can do with tubes. And if you start thinking about making tubes yourself out of organic, out of nature, out of wax, out of paper, waxed, and other materials which are organic, then you get really dizzy thinking about what you all can do. Okay, and if you demonstrate it and use it and such, then it would be a sleepless night afterwards, because if you have so much to think and such. Do we have more work?
Yes.
Still?
Yeah. I think 2.
Yeah, that's okay. 2. What is the time now? Oh, we should rush. We should rush, yes. Oh. But I'm happy that you have this question. It shows me that there is a lot of interest for technical solutions, for design decisions. By the way, tomorrow I go to the hairdresser, but I should not complain about COVID. So you see here, these are organically covered tubes, just a few flowers. These are ceramic triangles. I got them as a present in Warsaw, and I love them very much. And I had them for a longer time, but last week I said, oops, come on, I need you in Holland. And for my video, what I did, a short video, and then here now for Boerma, so to say, this is the right chosen container. And you can do a design in a minute, in 2, in 5, in 10 minutes, which is actually so important. You don't need it all. You know, some gloriosas, and then so I'm very proud. I brought a few flowers from Germany. But I'm not too proud for too long, because of then I saw the label they came from Holland before. But I promise you tonight I don't take them home. So they stay here, and hopefully they find a good time after and not too early in the grave. So see this beautiful crown jewels here? The gorgeous gloriosas. There's far too many. I just only need two of them. I just brought them from Germany, but they are originally here from Holland. Gloriosas are really flowers. I always say these are florist flowers. Florists, they are crazy for them. And then I have this lotus, Nelumbium nucifera. Nelumbium nucifera, that is the lotus seed pods. And then I have a few of this allium. And you know what? Maybe you don't like to hear it, but if you do an examination of to be a master florist, you need to study botany. A lot of botany can be done online, so that maybe I have to prepare lists of 10 conifers, 10 blooming branches for the spring, 20 tropical cut flowers, 20 bromeliads, 25 orchids with a full botanical name and all. I think that's what we need. So I think, therefore, we could go today wonderfully online. Let me say it like that. So, yeah, here that's for people who want to do work in a short time, who want to do floristry for the daily needs, for corporate work, for such orders. So, okay, you see, I found this one very important to convince you that we can do floristry when we have once the information about different techniques. We know what is out there. We know the materials, how they last, what could never last, you know, like having a lilac in so much water, for example. If you know all that, then you don't get lost. And now, I think, can we have another work? I think we have one beside. Yeah, there is a question.
Yes.
How wonderful that we have all yours and Angelica's questions. Love it.
So a question from Taiwan. The angle of the tubes, will that be an issue for holding the water for the flowers?
If the tube is like this, the water goes very slowly down. But if the water is like, the tube is like this, the water is very quickly at the end. So if the flower is leaning against the roof of the tube, it would be very quickly empty. So these tubes here, they should have a gum lead. Did you hear it? Gum lead. You can even work, and I could not do all that for today, if you have a grid under the ceiling and you have calla lilies or something, and you can use them upside down and with the tubes with a lead, and before even you can enseal that the calla lily doesn't slip out, and you enseal this with a cold glue. So very much done before, very successful. Flowers in water. That's an issue. More question?
Yes, question from Barbara. Please explain how you developed the water tubes.
The water tubes is something which already was there before I was born. In the 30s. In the 30s of the last century, there were already people who had done plant design with tropical plants, ferns, bromeliads, orchids, and they also included a few flowers in tubes. And it was here in Holland and also in Germany, and I saw a book in America, they also had some tubes. So the tube is not my invention, but I just am very happy that we have so many ways to work with them. Next one, please. I hope I answered your question. One more? Question? Two more. Two more works. No question. No. Who? Didier says hi. Okay. Bonjour, Didier.
Remove the whole thing.
Here.
Change of scenery.
You see what a perfection here. See what these gentlemen are all doing here. You should see the studio here. Flower schools become television studios today, you know? There is a huge screen, and if I would correct your works here, we could do this even online, but we don't. We do live. We want to do a live class with you. Oh, that's a good one here. Oh, yeah, that's a letter for me. Thank you. Bedankt ook, zeg. Yeah, number 9. Oh, we were quick, huh?
Yeah.
So, you know, this was
Has to be a little bit more to the back.
this was a broken vase. The head broke off. I used this for the class 2 weeks ago, the online class, and but there was not so many beautiful flowers in here like now. I just want to show what is happening when your vase breaks off and you don't need to throw such an expensive thing away. And all of this is waxed. Even the miscanthus grass sickles, they are waxed and attached here on this clamp on the vase. So just, thank you, sir. You see, this is the Fritillaria persica. So this as maybe as a buffet decoration or something. Look at these gorgeous orchids what I have. But I should not praise the orchids because of my Asian friends. They have so many beautiful orchids. That is really not to top. When I, for example, remember on the Singapore Garden Show when we did the speech about design and such, and it was next to a orchid exhibition. So I really was getting blind from all these beautiful orchids. So you see, all this is hanging. All this is hooked up in these upper structure. And if I want to make an Easter structure, so I can also hang the quail eggs in there. But I said, let me do it with flowers. I don't want to go with quail eggs. So, Fritillaria, not too much leaves. Tubes not too small. And you see this, they are not too big in inflorescence, but they are gorgeous in their color. It is more a brown burgundy. And this is one of the beauties who start in the beginning of March, end of February, and they are gorgeous to work with. No, it's enough. Now we go with a bit of other things. I have to rush that we... Can we go 5 minutes longer? Is that possible? Yeah? So this is also something buffet, room, sideboard. Even in the middle of the room, it should be multi-directional. Here I have wonderful little Antheriums. Do you see what I have? These beautiful little Antheriums. These are also, I think, from the pot plant growth. Sometimes when the growers, they have too many in bloom, they cut them off and sell them as cut flowers, and this is a gorgeous quality for little flowers. Small Anthuriums, especially for, here these ones, especially for gastronomy, you know, table decorations, little mini arrangements on the guest room and all that. I don't want to say toilet flowers, but all that little stuff, I think they are gorgeous for. And I think the small Anthuriums have a big future. Also the big ones, but we constantly need to invent. That's what I learned in Holland from one of these managers of the Holland auctions. This gentleman said, Gregor, we need to constantly make new type of cut flowers which people know, which flower faces what they really see all the time, so that we invent constantly new colors, new forms and such. So I was a Mr. Van Dyck. I have never forgotten what he said. Shall I really? Yes. Inventing constantly new colors and all that, so that flower people never get feeling bored from what they get offered. But also the summer flowers at the moment, if you see the scabiosas and the zinnias, asters, all of this is on a big flow of innovation. So now I have some aquacetum here. The aquacetum, they have a wire hook. I can still fill the upper element a bit with water so that they last a little better. And I have this, I need to say that this Phalaenopsis here for 10 days already. I brought them with me. I said they should have a chance to live, even when where they are born in Holland. And I love that color combination, especially with this winter burned brownish fresh ivy, which is fantastic in combination with all this. No, I'm fine. You are such a gentleman, Mike. Yeah, I really need to say that. Okay, so here we are. And, oh, it is a shame that we are already close to a finish here because of I'm in a good flow now. I could go on and on, but we still have to drive home tonight. Which is a shame. Ja, ik was zeker, maar ik moet hier nog een beetje wat van die scope hier, van die jongens moet ik nog wat binnen doen. So you don't believe how many flowers can be in such a work. The waxed miscanthus sickles, they are good now for this season. You know, still something is iced when you look out of the window in these March mornings. But so for this season is fine. But when we are getting close to April, May, then the wax is actually, as I said before, is over. So the wax is good, very well replacing a cool winter morning with the sunlight on a bit of iced plants. So now you have some vital green lines in here. So you see that the waxed miscanthus wrappings, that they have still something vital accompanying them, so that there is some green. You have a question? Yeah, I only need to look to you. You have a question. It's wonderful. Yes.
So, question from Felicia. Can you explain about
Felicia
tension? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know my names. Yes.
Can you explain about tension of a design?
Tension. The tension is, for example, when I create the difference between a strong focal point and a very calm work. The relationship in between is the tension. And you say in Holland is spanningen. In Spanish is tensiones. Tension between factors. It's not only a contrast. Tension is something what you really feel. Tension is also when the temperament of people in a community is growing. So that can be negative and positive. So that is also that. So here the tension is, here it's very floral, and this is very, very empty. So that is 2/3, an 8th part of herbaceous, and a 1/3 is dry. Fresh and dry is a contrast, but it also creates a tension. I hope I explained that very clear. Excuse me. So it's done. Sometimes I think, could we not fiddle another 5 minutes? But I love this. Today I need to admit that I was very decorative. But I think also when we see at the moment the floristry in the world, like vintage, boho, garden style, all these styles that we really have much more of a decorative time than before. So now we have one more, and this is another piece of Latin Romance. I'm done.
Yes, perfect. Okay.
I feel you have another question, Angelica. No? No question. So everything is hanging. The other design was everything is on a rack, and this one here is on, thank you, Jacqueline. This is on a moss cushion. It's a flat cushion what we made at home and framed it with black oxidizable iron wire. So that stand is an old chandelier, which not old, I bought it just 2 years ago, and transformed it with these wire flowers, wire ornaments. And I think that is Latin Romance. I call it always in a short form Latrom, Latin romance. So take a paper chair away. So you see here, this is a double wire, 4 millimeters, and all these wire ornaments are attached on with the black oxidizable wire. And you see here, there are these little double wire hooks, and with them I can hook them very well in the moss cushion. I can take them in, I can take them out, and I can take more, I can take less. I can spray them that they are not oxidizable, and I can use them as they are oxidizable. Beautiful. So just let me finish this work here in a few minutes. These unbelievable rose in this Latin Romance work, its name is tortilla. So it fits, tortillita. La tortilla, you know, the corn wheat tortillas. And they have a bit of that peachy, what also some of the winterly ivy leaves have. And I cut the flowers fairly flat so that I don't take too much water away from the, now the clematis. I think that is something what I should share with your friends. See what this is. This is a clematis, and also it comes more and more from Marginpar. Also our dear colleague Joe Massey from England, he made on internet from Marginpar some wonderful works with them. And I think this is something beautiful in here. It goes very much in that very romantic work. And water enough for all these flowers. I think there is enough. Don't take the tubes too small for the clematis. The clematis don't like too much of small tubes. So that should not be. We should study what kind of flowers are good for tubes. What flowers are good for these new foams? Are there new foams? What kind of foams do we have? But this is today not so much my subject. Here I have a darling rose. What is its name? Bubblegum. That's a darling. I had it years ago in Japan, a few years, but I never saw it here. And but I think here in Aalsmeer, I think it was around for longer. Beautiful. Then I have the Diplodociklos, which is the, no, it's okay, a bit of fritillaria. So you see the tubes also hanging on a wired stick. And then also I have the grayish, look at this, look at this. This is the poplar. That's what they sell here in Aalsmeer in the winter time. It was outside on the piles, maybe sitting there for longer, but I think it's perfect for me here to frame this work here a little stronger. Latin Romance. Hooking in also that mat, that moss mat, which is humid. So this humidity is good for the flowers to last, so it spreads humidity. So also if you would have another structure which would be not Latin Romance, it would be more modern and then tropical. So we can put little orchid plants and little orchid bromelia plants on there and blooming, and would last for weeks or months, or even for a trade fair booth, for hotel entrance or something. So just let me finish a little bit. I need a little bit of where are my glasses? Here they are. So I should say thank you for the help I had with these designs. Thank you also my wife Gabi. She was a very good work companion to me in these days. But believe me, it is a great time together when you are a florist and you can share this most beautiful profession in the world, or one of the most beautiful professions in the world, the floristry. It could go another hour or two, but I have to stop. Mike, Boerma, what would you say we should tell these people out there?
I think if you would like to learn all these types of techniques and really go deep into the knowledge of flowers and the floristic profession, then you can join us in the course. We will start, I think, in November. Yeah, November. So I'll say it in my So I think if you would like to join us and learn all these intricate types of designs and techniques, if you want to deepen your floristic knowledge, then you can join us in the Master in European Floral Design Course, and that's coming up in November. We are hoping that we can make it continue. We have postponed it from this month to November because everyone knows the current situation. But Gregor will teach this 20-day course, 10 days in November and then 10 days in 2022. And you can study from Gregor. You will be in a class with maximum 15 people, maximum 14 probably, and there will be an exam at the end. So you will be tested on your skills. You will be trained to a certain level so that you can achieve the skills that you are probably looking for a long time, and learn to design in a European master way. I think that's it. Is that it?
Yes, I think that's it. Yeah. And believe me, it looked like work, but it was pleasure. And all these 2 days here, or 1.5 days we are here, so it was that target to share these works with you for 2 hours. And if you are there still and watch and listen, thank you for your time. And we do our best to spoil you next time, whenever that is. Thank you very much.
Also, if you have enjoyed this demonstration, if you've enjoyed the demonstration and would like to see more live streams or such, you can subscribe to the channel, and then you can get updates on when we will go live again or when we have other videos. So thank you very much everyone for watching. We're really glad that you came, and click on the like button if you enjoyed the video. If you want more information about the course or anything about our school, you can send an email to info@boerma.nl, and you can find more information on dutchfloraldesign.com or boerma.nl. So that is BOERMA.nl. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Now we will still all wave goodbye. See you guys.